This episode is brought to you by La Quinta by Wyndham. Your work can take you all over the place, like Texas. You've never been, but it's going to be great because you're staying at La Quinta by Wyndham. Their free Bright Side breakfast will give you energy for the day ahead. And after, you can unwind using their free high-speed Wi-Fi. Tonight, La Quinta. Tomorrow, you shine. Book your stay today at lq.com.
Families have a lot going on. Let Ollie help manage the mental load with new cognitive help supplements for everyone 4 and up, like delicious Lolly Focus Pops or Lolly Mellow Pops for kids. And for parents, try 3 new Brainy Chews to help you focus, chill out, or get energized. Find these cognitive health buddies for the whole fam at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become?
Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Jewelry isn't a gift you give just once. It's a way to remind your loved one of a beautiful moment every time they see it. Blue Nile can help you find the gift that says how you feel and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com to find the perfect jewelry gift for any occasion. BlueNile.com.
American soccer fans, welcome to episode 134 of the USA Soccer Cast. We are bringing you everything about the U.S. national teams, the players, the leagues, and everything else that impacts the game of soccer in these United States. I'm Donald Wine. The U.S. women's national team returned to action this weekend. They have 2 matches coming up against South Korea, the first on Saturday in Denver, and the second on Tuesday in St. Paul, Minnesota. And the game in Denver this Saturday, as I mentioned on the last episode, will also be a historic one, as the U.S. Deaf Women's National Team will also compete against Australia in a match on the same field a few hours before the senior national team plays. It will be televised on True TV, the first time an extended national team has been broadcast on TV in a U.S. soccer-controlled match. Do me a favor, go back and listen to episode 133, which is a wonderful interview with Deaf Women's National Team head coach Amy Griffin. I really enjoyed that conversation, and hopefully it can lead to increased conversations about the other extended national teams down the line. But back to the senior women's national team. The match on Saturday will be the first with new head coach Emma Hayes finally on the sidelines. It represents the dawn of a new era of the U.S. women's national team with arguably the best women's soccer coach in the world. But Emma Hayes comes in with just one international window before she has to name her Olympic roster, which makes this weekend so important. After the break, I speak with André Carlisle of Diaspora United about what we can expect with Emma Hayes in charge. The first thing we're going to do is go through the roster, and we start with the goalkeepers. We have Jane Campbell, Aubrey Kingsbury, and Casey Murphy. Your defenders, Tierna Davidson, Emily Fox, Naomi Girma, Casey Kruger, Jenna Niswanger, Emily Sonnet, and Sam Staub. Corbin Albert is your midfielder, along with Sam Coffey, Hal Hirschfeld, Lindsay Horan, Rose Lavelle, and Lily Ioannis. And then your forwards, Crystal Dunn, Katarina Macario, Alex Morgan, Trinity Rodman, Jaden Shaw, Sophia Smith, and Mallory Swanson. There is also a training roster of 4 players, and that is Croy Bethune, Olivia Moultrie, Andy Sullivan, and Kate Wiesner. The first thing I look at is the 23-player roster, and there are a few changes from the team that won SheBelieves Cup back in April. Noah Lissanayer, she was hurt a couple weeks ago, and it looks like that isn't quite healed yet. Crystal Dunn is listed as a forward, finally. She's at least listed at her natural position as after almost a decade, and I'm excited to see the possibilities under Emma Hayes. Emma Hayes had Crystal Dunn at forward and wingback during her year at Chelsea back in 2017, so I'm wondering if this gives a hint at how Dunn will be used on the field moving forward. Lily Ioannis makes it back on the roster after joining the women's national team for the first time in April. She didn't appear on the field during SheBelieves Cup, but I'm hoping she can get that first opportunity during this camp. We have two newcomers to the 23-player roster in Sam Staub and Hal Hirschfeld. For Sam Staub, it's about time. She was incredible for the Washington Spirit at center back. She has been just as good for the Chicago Red Stars this season, traded in the offseason to Chicago. She's been one of the best center backs in the NWSL, and I'm thrilled that she's finally getting her opportunity. Hal Hirschfeld has been outstanding for the Spirit this season. I've had the privilege of seeing her dominate the midfield up close, and she's earned this call up as well. Can't wait to see what she does in this camp. In addition to the 23-player roster, Emma Hayes also called in 4 players to serve as training players. The rationale being that they will have some players out for the first few days of this camp due to various reasons, travel, recovering from nagging injuries, rest, etc. But it is a chance for her to see these players in action. She initially called in 3 players, Olivia Moultrie, Croy Bethune, and Kate Wiesner. Moultrie was on the main roster in April and this time makes the training roster. Bethune and Wiesner received their first national team call-ups, both of them being stellar for my Washington Spirit this season. Croy Bethune especially has been otherworldly. And last Friday, Andy Sullivan was also named to the training roster, and I'm really excited to see her back. She has been just a steady midfielder, exactly what she was on a national team during the Women's World Cup. People knocked her performance, but I thought she was very steady for the team. She played every minute of the tournament for the United States down in New Zealand, in Australia. So the clock begins for Emma Hayes to start putting these pieces together in person. And I cannot wait to see what changes she brings to the team. We're going to have more on the U.S. women's national team as we preview not just the upcoming matches, but also the new era of the program under Emma Hayes. On the other side, a special interview with André Carlisle as we continue to preview the women's national team matches this weekend. It's going to be a good one, so stay right there.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become? Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Hey everyone, are you looking for the latest gear for your U.S. national teams, Major League Soccer, the NWSL, or any other team in the world of soccer? The USA Soccercast has affiliate partnerships that are ready to help you out. Head to linktree.com/USA Soccercast, where we have links to Homage, Fanatics, the MLS Store, and Breaking Feet. You can get the jersey, shirt, hat, or accessory you're looking for to support your team, while also saving some money and helping this show in the process. Again, linktree.com/USA Soccercast. Click on the links and get your gear. And we thank you as always for your support of the show. We are back, and joining us is André Carlisle. André is one half of Diaspora United, a podcast centering Black women soccer players. He's also a co-founder alongside me and a few others of the District Press, which is an outlet that covers DC area soccer teams. He is co-host of the Hey Spirits podcast covering the Washington Spirit. He's written for several outlets, including We Ain't Got No History, the Chelsea blog over at SB Nation. I could go on, but we'd be here for hours. André Carlisle, simply put, you are the man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the intro. And yeah, every now and then, just the nature of this industry, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot that goes on. It's not, I promise I'm not like, it's not that much, but it's just like, things have short life cycles. We keep moving.
Yeah, exactly. And at a certain point where, you and I are both everywhere and at some point in our careers. So as I mentioned, you are all over the place, but you followed Chelsea women for a very long time. Of course, Emma Hayes coached there for 12 years before just recently signing on as U.S. women's national team head coach. For those people out there who have not seen Chelsea women play, and I know it's been a little bit more accessible over the most recent years, but describe how an Emma Hayes run team plays.
Yeah, which is a fun thing, given that now we're trying to figure out how this translates. But a typical Emma Hayes Chelsea team, I will say it depends on the opposition. Definitely tactically flexible. Some of the tactics aren't your most exciting depending on who they're playing. But if you look at the way that Emma Hayes wants to play, when she says like, okay, we're up against opposition that I know we can dominate. That's kind of the mantra. Ruthlessness has come up a number of times with Emma Hayes, and you kind of saw that this season when they needed to make up a goal differential, and poor Bristol was on the wrong side of that 8-0
Yeah.
win. So like yeah, when that team is flowing, it's very much trying to attack the opposition with numbers, with a level of organization, but quick ball movement moving forward. Again, at the international level, given how things have progressed. We don't know exactly if we'll see that, but the most dominant Chelsea teams from Emma Hayes have been extremely fun to watch and score a lot of goals and have a lot of ridiculous players that get put in the best positions for them to do that. And it's really fun to see. And what made me kind of fall in love with not just like the team itself, but how it specifically was coached and how it was fun to watch under Emma Hayes.
Yeah, and you mentioned the word ruthless. I
Yeah.
for me, if I think about a Hayes run team, the word came to mind. Similar word, relentless on the
Yeah.
field and an attitude. How do you think that translates to the national team? Because we've seen some video clips with her demanding perfection and accountability in a
Yeah.
very, very strong way. How do you think the players in this current pool will respond to that? I know there's going to be some that will have differing reactions to that sort of mentality.
It's interesting too because Emma Hayes has talked about, what is her classic line that she was born in England but made in America?
Mhm.
It's not really a bit. It's slight, like there's a percentage of it that's pandering, but it's actually true. She loved the aggressiveness, the competition, the hyper competitiveness of the US based system, and of course, as we know, that's had its downsides. But when you harness it correctly, it's great. And so she was able to transfer that into that Chelsea team. So that's kind of what you get when you mention relentlessness and ruthlessness. It's that combination of things and being hyper competitive. It's the reason why if you look at Chelsea and you just say, oh, they've won the league 5 years in a row, 5 seasons in a row, you're just thinking, oh, they get the best players, they dominate, whatever. But no, they've actually had to battle Arsenal. They've had to battle Manchester City. They've had to battle Manchester United. Like they've had to battle a lot of big teams. And the thing that's changed and the thing that's always been different is that when it's time to go, that team goes. They get the results they know that they need. I mentioned the 8-0 versus Bristol, but even on Manchester United the previous season, they were losing that game 2-1 at halftime. They won it 4-2. So like they do what needs to be done in particular moments. And so transitioning to the national team and how national team players, for me, I think it's such a perfect fit because that's something that we used to know and be able to rely on with the U.S.
Mhm.
Women's National Team. I think back to the 2019 run to the World Cup title. They went through what England, Spain, France, Netherlands, like they in each one of those games, they did what they had to do. And so to me, it's kind of just a bringing back of that culture mentality within the team that had been missing.
Now, and of course, Emma Hayes we've been talking about her, it seemingly for months. She signed on in November, but is officially taking over this weekend after leading Chelsea to yet another WSL title. And I think back to a few weeks ago where she all but admitted, like, hey, I'm not going to be winning any trophies in this last hurrah here. And then like 3 days later, she went on the field at Kings Meadow and said, we're not effing done yet. And sure enough, they flipped the switch and were able to come back and win the WSL title. And I think about the fact that she is about to become a national team coach for the first time. So
Yeah.
why is there so much excitement from this fan base from a career coach, a club coach, who of course has been arguably the best club coach in the world? Where's the excitement for the translation of that to the international stage?
It's a lot of it's a lot of hope, and you think that like, okay, if you're trying to analyze and dissect what have been the issues with the national team since, winning that World Cup in 2019, even a little bit before, if I'm being honest, but if you
Yeah,
just
early
look at it,
2019, we were that was not in the cards. Most people were
right?
saying, "Hey, do we get to the semifinal? Do we get out of the group stage? That sort of thing."
Yeah, absolutely. And so you kind of look at it and say, okay, these problems have persisted, and now they've gotten to a point where we've had some of the worst results in terms of major tournaments that the team has ever had. The earliest World Cup exit that the team has ever had. The previous Olympics was a disaster, was not good in terms of the way the team played, but also the medal they ended up getting. I know it was the bronze. It was not what is the expectation for this team. It's interesting when we contrast that with what to expect for this Olympics, but not getting there yet.
Hmm.
I think where the hope comes from is that if you have a coach who is good at, of course, the on-pitch stuff, good at relating to players, good at getting the best out of players, good at putting players in good positions on the pitch. But Emma Hayes did a lot more than that. The Chelsea that you see now was built by Emma Hayes. It was not that. She continued to push for the resources. She pushed for the funding. She pushed for, the innovations in medical treatment for the women athletes. Like, she pushed for that club to become what it is now in terms of the global landscape of women's club football. And that's what gets people excited, because US soccer has needed more than a coach. You kind of are past that now. They've kind of let it get to a point where, unfortunately, it is in a place where you need somebody that can come in with a more holistic picture. You can't just pluck a coach and say, hey, we like the way that you play football. Just sit here and coach the team. It's beyond that. It needs a bit more. And I think Emma Hayes will push for, behind the scenes and sometimes publicly. You know how she has been at
Hmm.
Chelsea. She is very outspoken and in press conferences when she needs to be, when she has an intended result. And she thinks that's one way to get to the goal that she desires. But it's her holistic ability to basically build a program. And it feels like there are multiple phases of the women's national team program that need to be rebuilt. And I honestly can't think of a better candidate for this particular moment than Emma Hayes. And I was really stunned that they made it happen, but delighted.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all stunned even at the way that it happened, right? And
Yeah.
the ability to stay on at Chelsea, not come immediately. We kind of left her out of the conversation because of the
Yeah.
fact that she was still Chelsea's coach, and having that work out really made a lot of sense, at least for her. Uh, I also think back to the similarities between Emma, the club coach, the Chelsea coach, and Emma, now the women's national team coach. And I think about the accountability thing that you mentioned, the
Mhm.
fact that she built that at Chelsea. And Chelsea, when she got there, was not a team that was expected to win anything. And now it's almost a demand that, hey, we will be perfect. It's almost like, Herman Boone and remember the Titans, like we will be perfect in every aspect of the game.
Yeah.
And if we're not, then I will find somebody who will be, and you will be going elsewhere. It won't be me. So that kind of feeds into the mentality of the United States women's program that, for a long time, it was unacceptable to win by 4, right? It was unacceptable
Right.
to win 5-1. Like, you wanted perfection, you demanded it, and you expected it. And when we think about that mentality, and we think about, her coming in and bringing that philosophy to here, I shift to my next question is, there's always some players that benefit from that. Who's the
Mhm.
player that you're most looking forward to seeing develop under Emma Hayes' tutelage? And it could be someone in camp, or it could be someone who's not in this current camp, but is there someone in this player pool who you think, yeah, Emma Hayes is going to be a real big boost for their career?
That's a great question. Because honestly, given the player transition that's going on within the team, that's been overdue, that they've tried and failed
Right.
to do over the past couple cycles, it should be everybody. But if I were to pick a particular player out, I'm maybe looking at Naomi Girma. I know she's already very well established and people look at her, but in terms of Emma Hayes' ability to kind of recognize leadership within a player and say, hey, you're my captain. Like, you're going to grow. Like, I'm backing you. You're going to grow within this team, and you're going to lead this team. Naomi's been kind of quiet. She's kind of that quiet leader. At Chelsea, Emma Hayes did this thing where she brought over a player who was a really exciting young talent called Neve Charles at Liverpool. She brought her over. Neve was playing a lot of winger. She had her play fullback. She started the first Champions League final when they got destroyed, and she did not have a good game when they got destroyed against Barcelona.
Hmm.
But she persisted with her. She gave her a lot of confidence. And this season, she was a captain a number of times, and she had a great season this season. within that fullback position. I think it's those sorts of things that you're kind of looking at. Emmett Hayes being able to just grow players' confidence and give them a level of responsibility on the pitch that they then feel for themselves, and they help hold their other teammates accountable. And I think what's great about Naomi is that she already holds herself to a very high standard. Now it's getting that next level where she's able to be that outspoken, at least within the team. I don't know if we'll ever see it externally, but at least within the team, of becoming that player who says, hey, here's the standard. I want everybody up here. Because I think the way that Naomi is, and knowing her personality a little bit, and our mutual friend, Sills, got to interview her and wrote a great piece on Naomi Girma that everybody should read. But like, I think that it's that next level for her, of her being able to say, hey, I want y'all coming with me. This is where we're going. Like, get the standards up here, because she is so good and has been so good so young. And I think she's kind of the perfect player to kind of get that Emma Hayes treatment, where she kind of becomes like I don't want to say like the teacher's pet. She's like a secondary, voice for Emma Hayes out on the pitch. And I think that's what you need.
Yeah, you want the coach on the field, so to speak. And we, you know, on the men's side, they've talked about, Michael Bradley and even Tyler Adams to an extent being that coach's extension on the field. And I think with Naomi Girma, it's a great shout, first of all. But I also like the fact that she leads by example, and the one thing that can develop. And again, like you said, it doesn't have to be demonstrative, but it could be where she's, in a good way, getting in people's faces, in the locker room, like, hey, I need you to be better. I need you to cover this end right here. I'll back you up if you get broken down here, but I need you to come back and help me out too. And having that thing where, if we're going to war, so to speak, she's the one first out the locker room and everybody's right behind her, lockstep. And I think I think we all see the qualities of her in that with her play. Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see how that leadership style develops. And if, again, we talk about her being a potential captain, could that be under Emma Hayes? Probably. But could it also be something where that is matured and cultivated with somebody else, is the question as well.
Yeah, I think so. And to go back to Naomi real quick, because I want to also mention that she seems versatile in terms of her leadership as well, because she'll do the TikTok dances. She'll be silly, but so she has that connection with the younger players, and then she also has that quiet, calm confidence of like a more veteran player. So I think she could speak to both and get them going in the same direction. Outside of her, it's going to be interesting. I honestly think like what she does in midfield is going to be very interesting. I think that's kind of the biggest piece to rebuild and get like a functional midfield flowing for the US. It's hard to select one particular player. At the moment, it's been Lindsay Oran. Will that continue? I don't know. Probably in the short term, but beyond that, I don't know. I was surprised she brought up Hal Hirschfeld. Surprised Andy Sullivan didn't make it, but then she made it to the training squad. So like, she clearly has a lot of these players in mind. I would love it to be Andy. I think Andy deserves another chance, another opportunity, especially under a coach like Emma Hayes. But in terms of like who else could get it, maybe Sophia Smith. I mean, we know how talented she is. We know how great she is in the league. The question is, how do you get her to do that on the international stage? And she is, I love Sophia Smith because she almost has like she almost has like, inside you there are two wolves. Like off the pitch, she's she smiles, she's funny, she's happy, all of these things. But on the pitch, she is ruthless. She is intense. And it's finding out ways to say, like, that version of you, we need to get it on the international stage. If we get it on the international stage, there is no limit to the trophies this team can win and how it can do. Like, we say all the time that the rest of the world is caught up. We should not expect those 5, 6, 7-0 score lines. You get Emma Hayes and that attack flowing with Sophia Smith central to it. You might see a few crooked score lines if we can get that level of production from her. So it seems like an obvious pick, but I do think there's a lot of untapped potential on the international stage that we haven't yet seen from Sophia Smith, and it's going to be key to getting that for success in the future.
And with all those players that you mentioned, they're all, less than 24 years old. So, so there's still a lot of time for them to develop into the players that they can be, and they, haven't even entered their prime yet. We're going to get to the Olympics in just a second. Let's focus on South Korea for a second, because South Korea, strong opponent. This is a camp where obviously there's going to be a lot of extra eyeballs because of the fact this Emma's first camp in charge in person. Give me your thoughts on this matchup and how do you think it goes between these two matches?
I, for one, cannot wait to overanalyze a couple of friendly matches. Being honest,
It's been a couple months since we've
yeah,
been
it
able to do
has.
this. So
It has. I'm very excited. In terms of what to expect, I really don't know. I think South Korea can be dangerous. We've seen that before from them, even against this team. So we've also seen some crooked score lines against this when these two have met. So I'm kind of excited to just see what changed. Emma Hayes gave Twyla Kilgore a lot of credit and said that like she couldn't have jumped in right away without Twyla doing the job that she did in the interim. But now I'm really looking for what changes, what elevates, what becomes kind of different. I think they'll probably see a bit of a low block, or who knows, South Korea could surprise us and say, okay, you're clearly going to be trying to work on something. Maybe we make it as difficult as possible and kind of get in your face, press really hard and make it very difficult. And maybe we get an early goal and then everything gets a little weird around the team. You know what I mean? Because anytime the U.S. women's national team concedes a goal or goes behind it all, it's like not even the sky is falling. The universe is collapsing, right? So I'm interested to see South Korea's approach, to be honest. But from Emma Hayes, I just want to see what changes. Are we going into a high press? What is the lineup going to be look like? Are we going to be in the 4-2-3-1? She has experimented in the past with three at the back. If you look at the defenders, you might be thinking there's a possibility she could kind of go three at the back with that unit. So there's a lot.
And as an employed, Crystal Dunn, who's listed as a forward, thank Jesus, but has when she was at Chelsea for that one season, she had her at wing back. So it plays into that as well. So a lot of questions.
Yeah, a lot of lineup questions. Very interesting. How much time do certain players get? Is she going to favor certain players over another just because they're more familiar? And then, of course, long term, how does that change? How does that alter? For me, it's just all being hyper observant and, like I said, just overanalyzing every decision. It may not be the healthiest way to look at things, but for me and us in this space, is kind of what we do. So it's going to be fun to just try to take note of every little thing that we see that might be different or might be heading in a particular direction that's either exciting or maybe like I'm not a big fan of three at the back, but when every now and then she would do it at Chelsea and it would work, and I'd be like, hey, she's the coach, she's better than me for a reason. Like,
right.
That's what it is.
I also think about, and I wish I could ask her this, is, we've had Twyla Kilgore as the interim coach for the last 8 months. Yeah. And in theory, they've been deploying the style that we expect to play under Emma Hayes gradually. But I wonder, what is that one thing that she said, I got to be there to teach this. I got to be there to implement it in person. And you take care of these other things that we want to do. But this one thing, what is that one thing that she's like, I can't wait to actually set foot in camp so that I can teach this to this group and have them implement it with me able to observe it up close. So that's something that I'm really looking for this weekend in these two matches. But again, and also I think what you said about the squad rotation, how do you evaluate all these players? Because as we look forward, the Olympics are, less than a month and a half away. So we are looking at one window, and then she's got to pick 18 players and 4 alternates to go to France. So as we look forward to the Olympics, the group stage, we have Zambia, Germany, and Australia. My God, loaded group stage. So tell me, which one of these teams do you think poses the most trouble for the United States? And over these next 4 matches before that opener against Zambia, how does Emma Hayes prepare for that while also doing the evaluations necessary to get through these 4 games?
Yeah, I honestly think, and I think this is going to be the thing that's going to be the most interesting because, like you mentioned, she has not done international management before. So trying to figure out how she does this, how she gets all this with a major tournament coming very, very quickly, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how she does this and gets it all done at the same, in a way that makes a lot of sense or that actually helps the team. So I'm excited to see how she does all of this, but I don't know. I look at like these groups and I'm just like, whew, there's not this is going to be a fun tournament because I can't like every single group is like, there's usually a group of death. I feel like that's every single group.
Everyone. Yeah.
Like it's intense. So like
that's what happens when you only have 12 teams and you have, what England didn't make it, Netherlands didn't make it. Like those are two strong teams that have been in World Cup finals and World Cup semifinals that aren't even in this tournament. That's wild to me.
Yeah, it's extremely wild. It's going to be super fun. So the interesting thing is going to, for me, just looking at all the opponents, like Zambia, of course, we see what a lot of the Zambian players are doing to the NWSL, which is just shredding it to pieces. That's a lot of talent. That's a lot of informed talent. If we're looking at, the recent form as well. The questions, of course, come at the higher level, their federation and all of that. There's a lot going on there that also creates a lot of instability. And who knows, sometimes players can galvanize and sometimes they can't, but also that coach has a lot of question marks around him. So there's just a lot going on with Zambia where I don't know if they'll be able to overcome all of it and like show their best selves, which is really disappointing because that is a team that could actually make quite a run in these Olympics. Would not surprise me at full strength to see them get a medal. I don't think anybody has an attacking unit that really rivals them, especially with Barbara Banda and the stuff that she's been doing. Germany, interesting team and a very interesting rebuild. Super talented, but underperforming. Now that their coach, Martina Voss Tecklenburg, is out, it's going to be interesting to see what they do and how they galvanize under a new coach. Australia, we saw what happened during the World Cup. We saw how that team got that entire World Cup cycle for them was like a mass, almost like catharsis. Like everything was like that culminated with that Sam Kerr goal against England, where the entire tectonic plates shifted when that happened, when that goal went in. So there's a lot of teams riding a high, but a few with a lot of question marks, including the United States. So this is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, and with all those teams, again, teams that we've beaten in the past, teams that have beaten us in the past, or at least given us fits in the case of Zambia, and Barbara Banda is probably the most on fire, informed player on the planet right now. That frightens me. Yes. She already frightened me, but that has added to the horror. Thinking about this Olympic roster, again, 18 players make it. You have 4 alternates. Not necessarily asking you to predict all these players, but is there a dark horse candidate in your mind that you hope makes the roster?
Ooh, good question. Dark horse candidate. You know who it would be? We're going to stick with Orlando. You mentioned Barbara Banda. I think Emily Sams has a good chance, has a very good chance, because what she's been doing this season with Orlando is showing the kind of versatility that I think is really, really important, and also something that Emma Hayes values. Because if you have versatile, especially versatile defenders, that means you can change your structures mid-game. So you can change your build-up phase. You can change where you have the numbers overload, what line you have. So Emily Sams has been playing as a center back, but then also a right back. Sometimes she swifts in, it's a back three. They're actually building out of a back three instead of the back four with the fullbacks pushed up high. So she's shown a sense of being very versatile on that side, on the right side. And so it wouldn't surprise me for that to be something that Emma Hayes is very intrigued about, especially when you kind of look at, Tierna Davison coming back from injury, Naomi Girma coming back from injury. Sam Staub just got her first call up. Shout out to her. I think it's long overdue. But of course, if she's got new with the team, and Abby Dahlkemper did not get called up. She still thinks she's back, but she hasn't gotten called up. So I think there's still question marks in terms of the defense. And honestly, at the moment, the most informed defender is not in camp right now, and that would be Emily Sam. So I'm hoping to see her at some point pretty soon. I don't know if it's the Olympics, but I could make a good case given her versatility.
And versatility, as we've seen, is crucial for the Olympics, given that there's only 18 players and you have to have everybody ready to play every single game, and you don't have any room for error. So yes, if you have to move people around, you want a Crystal Dunn who can play multiple positions. You want a Tierna Davidson who can play multiple positions. So I agree with you. Beyond the Olympics, there's been a lot of talk, obviously, about the future of the women's national team, who becomes the main core, who gradually fades out as we move into the new cycle going towards Brazil 2027. How do you think Emma Hayes navigates that? Do you think there'll be quick change? Because again, in Chelsea, she'd be like, here today, gone tomorrow. Or as the saying goes, will good things take time?
Oh, I definitely think it will take some time. A lot of it will depend on what result they're able to build on from the Olympics. Are they going to need to kind of uplift confidence and kind of instill some more structures, or are the players going to get it? They're going to go on a run and they're going to be in a celebratory mood, and you're going to be able to like take off from there. So I think a lot of it does depend on the Olympics. I don't really have in my mind the like the only thing I would say about the Olympics is like don't get embarrassed. Like this is a
Right.
new coach with new players. It's going to be very hard for the team to be embarrassed given how talented it is, but we saw in times that happened under the previous manager. But in terms of the transition, I'm excited to just see what Emma Hayes does. I think post Olympics, it probably will be rapid in terms of the turnover on the team. Like I said, there has been a transition that has been lingering for a while. Every time it starts, there's almost like something that happens, or they get a result that's weird, or they revert back to kind of the tried and true veteran players, and then you stall it for another cycle, or there's an injury like Mia Official's ACL injury. So
Mhm.
there's always something that seems to be popping up. And what we've seen already with these South Korea call-ups is that Emma Hayes is already focused on expanding the player pool, which is a absolute necessity. There's still a ton of talent in this country that can play for this team. Getting it within the system and set up to get more familiar will only benefit things down the line, so that even if you happen to have an injury, you're not having to scramble and say, Julie Ertz, can you come back and save us? Right before a World Cup.
Right.
Hopefully we're not in those positions because we have the talent to not be in those positions. And it already looks like Emma Hayes is going to take care of that.
Yeah, and I'm curious as to know whether, the traditional U.S. soccer way is, players retire and there's a send-off match of some sort, or at least some way of honoring that person, and we kind of gradually say goodbye to them and move on. And then there's the like German way of, these 8 players, thank you for your service. You guys, y'all are done. Thanks
Right.
for coming. God bless you. Good night.
Yeah.
And you don't see them anymore. There's no send-off. There's no testimonial. There's barely a recognition. They're
Very
just
German.
yeah, they were on the team and they are no longer on the team, and these players are now on the team. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a mix of the two. If there's going to be, for some players, you kind of see them just never get called in again, or if you have some of these veterans who deserve, right, the recognition and the honor, whether they actually receive it is a question, because we know some players do and some players don't. Andre, this has
Yeah.
been fantastic. Before I let you go, tell the people where they can find everything you're doing, all the great work you're doing in print and podcasts.
Appreciate it. Diaspora United, take a listen to that. If you happen to follow the NWSL and like the Washington Spirit or are interested, Hey Spirits is the podcast, and I have a newsletter. It is called Beyond the Vaudevillian Cane. I know it's weird for a women's soccer newsletter, but look it up. In the featured post, I explain why it's called that. And stick around because we try to have fun there. And I also like to drop some stats bomb data that I have for the NWSL, the WSL, and the Champions League. So try to keep it informative, but also try to keep it fun.
André Carlisle, the man, the myth, the legend, follow, support all the incredible coverage he provides in all areas of women's soccer. I appreciate you so much for coming on. I didn't even crack a tall joke. This is a tall free episode
Thank you so much.
just for you. So I appreciate you. Thanks again to my man, André Carlisle, for coming on the show to talk all things Emma Hayes and how this new era of the women's national team could go. Very insightful stuff. And André is always thoughtful about his approach to the women's game, and I really appreciate his perspective. Definitely check out all the great work he and Courtney Stith are doing at Diaspora United, and of course, his Washington Spirit coverage over at the District Press and Hayes Spirits podcast. And as we look forward to how this new era begins this weekend in Denver, when the U.S. women's national team takes on South Korea, it's all going to be an interesting way of learning about how this team plans to be when they go to the Olympics in July. How does this team shape? What's the form? How do they play? Is that ruthless, relentless mentality going to be present? We can only wait and see. That will do it for episode 134 of the USA Soccer Cast. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to follow us on Twitter, and we're on YouTube as well. On both, you can find us at USA Soccer Cast. Subscribe, rate, and review our episodes. It really helps and is greatly appreciated. Don't forget, we have affiliate programs with a ton of places to get you the gear you love and help you travel to see your favorite teams play or watch them from the comfort of your home. We have partnerships with Homage, Fanatics, Kitbag, ESPN Plus, Fubo TV, Paramount Plus, Hilton, Marriott, United, and so much more. And we have our stimulus store. We got the gear you need to be ready for the start of summer of soccer, so you should get on that pronto. Head to our Linktree, linktree.com/USA Soccercast to learn more. Click the links to all of those sites and support the show in the process. We'll talk to you again soon, y'all. Peace.